Hello everybody, I'm here today with Jamie, Neve and Jordan, and we are going to be chatting digital boundaries. So, first question is, digital boundaries, why do you think they're important? What are digital boundaries?
I think taking a step back from social media doesn't do any harm, although it feels like it's going to be the worst thing in the world when you first think about doing it. But taking a break from social media really, and platforms in general, can really give you so much more time to do other things. It can improve your sleep, it can reduce anxiety and depression, our studies have shown that. And really it can just give you so much more time to catch up with people in real life, which is so important. So I think for me, digital boundaries means respecting your time in the real world and having a kind of balanced relationship with platforms online as well.
Yeah, sounds good.
But I think also the thing is that first of all, you've got to figure out is like why they cause anxiety and depression, right? Because it's pretty easy just saying, let's just come off it. But you have to understand the root behind it. And I was actually thinking about this because I actually came off social media for a week to do like this test to see what it would feel like. And I think so supposedly we're meant to have like this village mentality, right? Where we're meant to know like 150, 200 people. So if you have a wedding, you'd like invite, that's how many people you know, right? And out of all those people, you have a USP, so unique selling point, something that makes you, good at the gym, good at music, good at being a mum, a dad, good at Scrabble, whatever it is, you know something to you. But the problem with social media is that you go onto it and you're connected to millions and millions of people who are all better than you, all supposedly better than you, that you think are better than you. So you lose your purpose, and actually life is all about having a purpose. So therefore you don't feel like you have a purpose, you then feel inadequate, and that's what leads to that anxiety and depression.
Inadequacy is definitely an issue.
Yeah.
I think the term boundaries is important because boundaries denotes the idea of like understanding a potentially toxic relationship, you know? Like there's needing to be, I think we can often lose control. It's addictive. You're activating the reward center in your brain, you know, like a deep desire for validation, which I think, I'm not saying it shouldn't exist at all. It's nice to be supported, obviously, for IAMWHOLE campaign, for example, the hashtag IAMWHOLE brought together a community, and that happens a lot. But it's when you are unnecessarily, that's the boundary, isn't it? When you are going, you're unable to uphold a certain level of discipline because it's got a wrap around you in some way.
We spend an average of 3 hours a day on Instagram, that's average, right? And every single minute, 400,000 people are scrolling through Instagram, and 4.2 million videos of YouTube are being uploaded every minute.
Wow.
Yeah, 42 million hours of YouTube every minute. So it's just crazy. So we're just so connected in this like kind of place, and I just feel like it just slowly. I'm gonna say I think social media is really positive, but I also think it's negative. But I think the negativity outweighs the positivity, like by quite a lot. I think.
Especially now because there's so many more people using it, and with things like smartphones being constantly upgraded, apps being constantly made, there's always something new, or like TikTok now is like huge.
But here's a question for you guys: if you didn't have some sort of profile, would you use social media?
I say no.
Yeah, I would
You
say
wouldn't?
no too.
I would keep it low key, man. I just, there's something about, if I didn't have a desire to like create, and that desire hadn't been picked up by people, like I have to write things or express myself or communicate with people. That's just my role or whatever. It's something I need to understand as my purpose. But I see people who don't necessarily have that kind of impulse. They like to engage with it, avid readers or avid consumers of film, like amazing art. And if I was one of those people, I'd stay off it. I'd just enjoy life and enjoy the kind of, because I think really what it comes down to, we can accumulate all this kind of stuff, we can dominate, we can believe these kind of machoistic ideas. Well, ultimately, the most important things in life are immediate and are always accessible, which is just like close friends, family, community, and I'd say almost a harmonious routine, which I find difficult to admit. Do you know what I mean? But I always want to overcomplicate things, but actually simplicity will always win long term.
Yeah.
But I think in a lot of ways, social media can really add to the simplicity of relationships. So for example, you have a family member who moves abroad to Australia or America or wherever. I mean, it's so much easier to stay in touch through platforms like social media, see what they're doing, see photos, see videos, live Instagram stories of what they're getting up to. So I I think that's a positive that I wouldn't want to give away myself.
So do you guys ever feel concerned about how much you're using social media? Like when you took your break, did you notice a massive difference?
Yeah, I think what happened is that, so the only way I can describe it is that, so I sort of said this before, but so a habit takes 66 days to become a habit, right? And you can actually undo yourself within 14 days. So if you are obsessed with something or something's a habit, you can actually take it off, depending, right? That's just, lots of different variables, but you can come off it. So I took it off, and the way to say it, firstly, I wasn't conscious of being connected to my friends all the time. I wasn't worried if they were talking to me or not, because I didn't bother me, and I felt almost liberated. And I can only describe it as when I went away on like a school holiday for that summer, didn't speak to any of my friends, and then came back and were like, all right, how was summer holiday?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
You've
sweet.
got stuff to talk about.
You've got stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
And it was kind of really great. What about you? So have you ever come off social media?
Yeah, so I take breaks every now and then. Usually at Christmas time, I'll have like a little detox because most people are like out of office or like chilling at home with family. So I usually use that as my time to be a bit like, I'm stepping back a bit. And I'm definitely conscious of how much I'm using it because obviously I've been doing it for 10 years and it's kind of got me to the point I'm at.
Yeah.
So it's kind of worky. I guess I use it from like a work brain and a personal kind of side because it was something I enjoyed doing. It wasn't something I started thinking, oh, this will be great for business. It was like it naturally progressed into that. And as social media grew, it kind of grew with it and more and more people using social media. But I am very aware, especially as I like suffer with mental health, I know when it's not good for me or when I'm over consuming it. And that's when I know I need to take a step back.
What kind of things happen?
Just when I don't realise I've endlessly scrolled and I've not gained anything from it, and I just
Do you
feel
like
like,
zone out?
yeah, I'm just like scrolling and I'm not gaining anything from that. Especially in Twitter, I used to do that a lot on Twitter. I would just scroll, and then I was like, I'm reading what everyone else is doing with their day, and I'm not living mine.
What are the triggers for you that happen? I understand you say scrolling, things like that. Do you start to feel anxious? Do you start to feel irritated? Do you start to lose sleep? You feel anxious?
Yeah, and I'm an anxious person anyway, and I guess it depends because if it's what people are saying about you, and I guess we've all experienced nasty people saying things to us online. Yeah. If it's that, it's different to just consuming, and also for me, a lot of it is comparison. So because a lot of what I'm doing is creative and there's a lot of other people in that same kind of industry doing the same thing, you can so easily get hung up on like, that's such a cool idea, why didn't I think of that? Or, I didn't do that as well, or, oh God, I feel like I should be doing more, or should I be doing less? Or like,
that's the killer.
You're constantly
and also that
scrutinizing
FOMO,
yourself.
Like everyone gets that. You see these Instagram stories, people seem to be always doing something amazing. You're sitting there, in your house, but you might have done something yesterday. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you've done.
And then I also get very aware that I don't want people to feel like that looking at mine.
Yeah.
Like if I'm feeling FOMO looking at somebody like on holiday somewhere, I'm like, do I make people feel like that if I'm at home with my boyfriend and my dog and someone's like, well, I don't have a boyfriend and I don't have a dog.
Yeah.
So what's the solution then? Is there a solution to this scenario where, so you're saying you're feeling this certain way, that, I know that I feel a certain way, John, I'm sure you do the same. If you feel the same, everyone feels the same way about certain areas. What is the solution? Is there an answer to managing that, sorting it out, to changing it?
I think we need to take the internet world less seriously.
Yeah.
So like, for example, and I hate to admit this, but I think honesty is always
I'm excited.
Positive. No, I have unfollowed Instagram accounts of like people in the creative world that I adore.
Thanks.
Because I adore I still follow people I don't. No, I'm following people who I adore and respect immensely, because if I'm for another reason struggling, I can just, the voices in my head that will nail me, like that will say you like, you're not doing well enough, you're not doing good enough, look at this person. It will get me. And there was a moment where I struggled to the idea of unfollowing them because we have developed this concept of that being some currency where it's like, they'll think that and it's like, actually, even though it's really difficult, accept the fact you have to let go of what they think about it, because it's not, in that moment it's actually not important. And the reality is I can actually now engage with their creative craft
in a way that
that's super, which is just like just music or just films.
That suits you, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, if
yeah.
I'm seeing that every day, if they're like on and I feel a little bit insignificant, like, you know, inadequate.
It is a highlight reel,
It just
though.
hurts.
Yeah.
And I just went like, actually, I'm gonna have a zero tolerance on feeling hurt, and that involves making a sacrifice.
I think so. It's interesting. I think I totally agree with what you're saying in lots of ways, but I think it's also what we do is we judge ourselves on other people, and we imagine what we should be doing, what we can be doing, and all these different things. There's a really good lecture which is called "Why Zebras Don't Have Ulcers," and it's about the animal kingdom, right? Where zebras will be drinking from a watering hole, a lioness will come and attack them, they'll run off, they'll escape. And they'll escape away, and they'll come back to the same watering hole and drink from the water. They won't even think about what could have happened, where they could have died. They just live in the present. That's why they don't have ulcers. As humans, we don't. We imagine what bad things could happen.
We're always worrying.
Always worrying,
Yeah.
and we have to try and present us and live in the present.
Yeah.
And the problem with social media is that we're constantly looking at people's photos from here and there and this and that.
Well, no, that's what's mad, isn't it? Especially about videos. It's like,
Time
because
capsules.
you're talking about there's a guy called Eckhart Tolle. He has a book called The Power of Now, and he talks about presence, and he's really interesting because he just says often he says that really in life we have decisions to make, and then once they're made, you are actually fine. Like you know, with a few exceptions, of course, but really, like right now, I'd confidently say in this environment we're okay. And he trying to use that at present power. But if I was to think about roughly what time I'm getting back, have I done this before I go away tomorrow, then I'll start stressing myself out.
Yeah.
Whereas really, that will be a present choice that I've got to make once I'm home. But it's the thought, do you know what I'm trying to say? And then on Instagram videos, you can wake up, watch someone exist in the past, like 12 hours ago, and it'll mess up your life now. Like, you'll go like, oh man,
I guess
12
so
hours
hard to
ago
be
was
present,
upsetting.
I guess that is why it's so important to set digital boundaries.
Definitely.
Based on what would make you feel better. Like for you, that's
That's what I'm
unfollowing
saying.
people,
It
and I
can be.
agree. I
Or
think
following the right people.
I think tailoring what you're consuming as much as you can is so important. You have to strip back anything that doesn't make you feel good.
I think you
like-
need to take some time as well to do that. It takes time, I think, to understand your relationship
But I
with
think-
social
and I
media.
think-
It's probably quite complicated, but
Yeah.
look into it.
Definitely.
Are there any kind of statistics around like how much our brain is actually able to
Consume.
Able to consume. I mean, not off the top of my head, I don't know,
Right.
but I know that endlessly scrolling through feeds is much more negative to your mental health and well-being rather than passively engaging with your friends and on chats. And there's only so much of that you can actually do in social media. So the more of that you're doing, fine. But it's when that passive scrolling comes in, as you mentioned, you know, you're endlessly scrolling through feeds. You might be on YouTube, another video comes up, another video comes up.
Yeah, it's endless.
It's endless, and that's not good for your mental health.
What we care now about is looking on YouTube or looking at movies and seeing all these people and going, those people are great. But in fact, your relatives, your friends, the people around you, they're the great ones.
but
Yeah,
we have to
true.
bear in mind that we are addicted. Like that,
Yeah.
that's the thing that we need to take very seriously, is that like you can have a healthy relationship with this stuff. It's like moderation. Like for example, you and I are sober at the moment. I don't know about you guys.
I know I don't drink, so
Right.
I'm sober right now.
Really?
right this second.
Right
I
now,
am
I'm not had a drink. But arguably, I actually admire moderation. You know,
So do I.
I know from my experience personally, I might get there at a certain point. For some people, it's just a no-go. They would choose rather not to engage. But the notion of moderation, I think, is quite responsible.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I wouldn't. I'm not
And the best way
throwing
to
that.
live, right? In moderation is the best way to live. I totally agree with you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm not.
agree.
I'm not throwing that to the side at all.
And that's what I think is the best thing to do with social media. It's use it in a moderate way that's balanced for you, healthy for you, and you know, get the best
100%.
things out of it, kind of avoid the negative side, and so I'm just going to ask some questions to see if you guys could do with taking a little digital detox. So firstly, do you spend a lot of time thinking about using social media
Yeah.
Yeah.
when you're not on it?
Yeah.
Only if I've engaged with it recently.
Okay.
Does that make sense? There's a point at which
There's a point at which you
I
turn off.
turn off.
Yeah. Okay. Got
Are
you.
there certain things that would like trigger that?
What, as
Posting
in,
on social
so making
media.
you think about social, So
Posting on social media will make me think about social media.
Yeah. I think I'd probably use it, probably same as all of us, I use it as an avenue for creativity, right? So I'm constantly thinking creatively. So I'm like, oh, I can do that. So I'm probably always thinking about it.
Okay. Wow.
Sorry, it was that. Whoa.
Okay. So do you feel urges to use social media more and more
More and
Less
more.
and less.
over time?
No.
No.
No?
I think less.
Yeah. Same. I think mine decreases.
Oh, we're getting better.
All right, first one
This is
yes,
looking
second
good.
one no.
Getting better.
Okay. Do you use social media to forget about personal problems?
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
I don't think so.
Right.
No.
Do you often try to reduce your use of social media without success? So you've said some of you have taken a break before.
To be honest, I've had people I work with try and convince me to stay on it. Like I've really recently gone to, like literally tried to
The
deactivate
opposite
everything.
way.
Yeah.
He's done a big old detox.
But the 180 was the idea of being useful, man. That's what I love. I
Yeah.
love the fact that I can engage with people and encourage them to do.
But that's a really healthy way, right? If we talk about that, like I think the unhealthy side of social media is what we said before: scrolling, comparing, looking at others. The healthy way is creating, is connecting, is doing all those.
Which
Community.
which arguably you don't have to be an influencer to even do that. Like
No,
if
no.
even
No.
with your circle of mates, if you've just gone to like a nice pub or if you've just gone to that's the upside
definitely.
of a food post. Is like this was
Yeah.
actually really
Go
nice,
there.
and then you go, oh, I'll go there.
Or quite a lot of people searching hashtags and finding things like when I went to New York recently, I went onto the hashtags on Instagram to use that as a function to see where I should go and eat.
Yeah,
Like,
you
that's
can
cool.
use it in such positive ways.
Yeah,
You really can.
yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Do you use social media so much that it has a negative impact on your job? So this is a difficult one for you guys, I suppose.
Yeah, because I guess an element of it is our job, I guess.
Yeah.
And also your mental health, right? If it's affecting your mental health, then
Yeah.
it's affecting your job for sure, right?
Well, I
Yeah.
suppose you have to be very careful about what you post because as influencers, which the three of you are, you definitely have a lot of responsibility, I'd say,
Micro.
to the people who view your
Yeah.
profile. So do you feel that responsibility?
Yeah.
But I think you would, Zoe, far more than probably actually, Dawn, you would because
Why?
you have a core, you have a cult following, right? You have an audience.
I'd like that. I like
There
that
you
cult
go, no
following.
worries,
I
man.
like cult
It's
following.
go- Going in the
But it's
bio.
true, right? Because
Maybe.
I would say you're 100% right because Rizzle Kicks, just you, music in general,
Yeah, I
all
love
those
that,
kind of
then.
people love what you.
I'm
create.
hoping to build that, yeah, but I am a firm believer in like just creating product and putting it out there. And my product isn't as frequent. Zoe, for example, would be there's an expectation for you to deliver to a certain amount, no, to a certain degree.
I guess so. I guess everyone, I'll never really know the expectation each individual has on me, which
Yeah.
is, that can be quite daunting. And you're
Yeah.
not everyone is gonna like you. There's so many people that follow others that there's always gonna be such a varied opinion of something. And that's kind of terrifying because you want to be yourself, and that's all I've done up until this point. But sometimes you do have to take kind of a step back and be like, should I post this? I don't know. Is this going to offend someone? Like,
Yeah.
and then you sort of polish it a bit, and you're like, oh, it doesn't feel like me now. But then there's also a large part of it. It's like I don't really want to
You've
give
got to
all
balance.
of me.
You have to balance
Yeah.
responsibility and authenticity.
Yeah, and that's quite hard.
That is really tough. And to be honest, and the truth is, in about 20, 30 years, we're all going to end up in tribes in the woods anyway.
I love that. But I actually don't envy you at all because I think it's really hard the job that you have because your
Yeah.
audience has grown over the past 10 years, right? So you were one of the first, right? You were the first who created this industry of YouTube and all these different things. Pioneer, well done. And so you had this. So people look at you as an influencer. You know, for me, I was on a TV show where still am on a BAFTA-winning TV show, and I have behaved in lots of different ways, good, bad, all of it. So I don't feel like I have a responsibility that I have to behave in a certain way because I've behaved in so many different ways already that I don't need to. I
Yeah,
can
you
post
don't
anything I
have
want.
that. Yeah.
And so people talk to me, say, would you post that photo? And I go, yeah, I'd post it, I don't care. Or, I do a podcast where, I talk about anything. Because I don't, but someone like you probably couldn't say certain things because your audience wouldn't click with
You
it.
don't know how they'd react.
And that's hard, that's really
yeah,
hard.
yeah. That is hard to navigate. So this campaign is obviously building us up to a digital detox day.
Yes.
What do you hope to get out of that? Having a whole day not being on your phone?
It would give me more of an encouragement to sit down and read a book.
Do you think it's going to be hard for you to not be on your phone? Not be on social media? And just not be connected in any way? I feel like it's not going to be so hard for you.
No, because I get more bugged by just like occasional messages to friends, but I can do
Okay,
that.
Jamie?
I just think I'm more intrigued to see what happens to like everyone else, right? I just think what's so exciting is that people are going to do this DDD, which I think is we should probably use that as a
DDD.
Yeah, there you go. Just thought it off the top of my head.
Thanks for that one.
No worries. I think what's going to be great is that people are going to suddenly realise that actually there is a world outside of social media, that people actually feel much better when they do it. And it's the fear of missing out, right? So that people are going,
Yeah.
but if everyone does it together, everyone's going to be in this community where we go, well, here, screw that. Let's now do this. And I think it's actually going to do wonders for individuals because people are going to realise there's a world outside of social media. Yeah,
I agree.
I think on that, it would be so nice to just be present and know everyone else around you is being present as well.
Yeah.
Maybe call up your friends, arrange to meet, and no one use any forms of digital.
No fubbing.
Remember when
to
you
meet,
used to have to just
pick a place, use a map.
Yeah, you have to turn
Knock on
up,
the
and if they
door.
weren't there,
Oh my
you just
God,
have to
knock
get
on
on
the
with your
door.
day.
Yeah, get on with your day. You know, I sat with this guy who's a psychologist, and he said the four ingredients for happiness are a monogamous relationship. So being with someone that you actually love and just want to spend time with, having strong relationship with friends, and not friends that you just message or whatever. You actually meet and you actually speak to, and you actually phone them up on their birthdays and things like that.
Yeah.
The other one is doing work that you love. You actually, or not love, but you like to go to work. And the last one is actually feeling like you have an imprint on the world. You're doing something that has a bit of a purpose, that you're changing something. And those are four
that's
ingredients. And actually all this social media, all this
Well,
other
watching
sort of
Space Jam. You didn't mention Space Jam.
They're bringing out a second one as well with LeBron James. Bring it.
I know.
But I think like we're going back to your point. Simplicity, man, is like
those are
key to happiness, and I think that's what we should focus on.
Living in the moment.
Yeah, for sure.
In real life.
Yeah.
Okay, so thanks so much, guys. This has been fun. I hope that everyone else has found it really useful. Make sure to check out IAMWHOLE. There's lots more content, lots more stuff about Digital Detox Day, and I can't wait for you all to join in.
Woo-hoo!
Join us on the 5th of September and post a picture letting everyone know you're off.